guys, and welcome to my review of Haikyuu 215, Sound. And we start off with Kageyama, and we spend most of the chapter with Kageyama. And we start off with them kind of having dinner or something. It might be breakfast, who knows. Pretty sure it's dinner though. And we see that Kageyama is basically hanging out with one of the dudes from Shinsen, who Shinsen is of course one of the schools in the training camp where Nekoma and Fukurodani and what's the other? Ubuwaga blah blah. That school with the good serfs, that's the training camp they're from. So we have this dude kind of following Kageyama around even though he doesn't quite know how to speak to him because Kageyama is of course a bit weird when it comes to social life. Which is relatable, I guess. But they get interrupted when they're having a little conversation about how Shinsen didn't make it to the national thing where all the prefectures come together. You know what I mean, nationals. But yeah, they get interrupted by Sakusa, who comes over to Kageyama and is like, how did you beat Shida Torisawa? Was Ushiwaka not on the top of his game? What happened? And Kageyama just kind of, he doesn't get like the underlying threats, so he's just like, I mean, he was probably fine, we were just better, we had like a good person who stalled him, and Sakusa is just like, give me his name, give me his year, give me his position, just give me everything. But before Kageyama can answer and say that, well, it's Hinata and blah blah blah, this other dude, was he second year? Yeah, he was second year libero, I'm assuming from the same school as Sakusa, which is Itachiyama, if I remember correctly, because we didn't get a school name, so I'm assuming it's just the same school. But he comes up and he's just like, well, Sakusa is a bit weird when it comes to like competition and threats, so just ignore him. And Sakusa is minorly offended. But then before Sakusa leaves to get his bath, because he's afraid of germs or something weird, Kax calls him out for being average and holding back, which is just... I mean, this dude is one of the top 5 or top 3 spikers or players in the whole of Japan, of course as high schoolers, and Kageyama's just like, you're kind of average, I feel like you're holding back, and people around him is just like, what the fuck are you doing? What? You can't just call him average. But Sakusa is just kind of like, he doesn't get too offended because I think Kageyama was pretty spot on about holding back. It's like he's not showing his full potential. Like, we haven't seen him actually play, so I can't really say anything about it, but if Kageyama says you're average, he's probably right. And this is Sakusa, so we know that he's supposed to be really, really good. Like, he's supposed to be better than Ushiwaka, so he should be pretty good. But then they leave, and Kageyama and the Shinsen dude, they start talking about this relatively small guy. He should be around 170 centimeters, little bit higher, taller than Hinata. And first the Shinsen guy's like, he's kind of like Hinata, and then Kageyama's just like really dramatic and goes, no, he jumps higher than Hinata, and that's scary as hell. And we cut to them the next day playing, and we see this guy just jump really fucking high, like he's above the bloggers, and this dude isn't that tall. So that's competition right there. And they say that he has this wife of the little giant, who of course is Hinata's idol, and this is including Hinata, this is the 3rd time that we see a little giant figure. We have Hinata, we have the guy from Wakunan, I think it was, the captain from that team, and now we have this dude, and holy fuck, he is more like Hinata than the Wakunan dude was, because the Wakunan player, he was like Little Giant in the way that he was small, yes, but he used technique to get past the blockers, so he would spike the ball and then he would propel it so that he would create a block wipe off thing, I don't remember the name of it, but where the ball hits the block and then goes out of bounds so that you get a point. This dude just jumps really high and is more like Hinata, who has like physical talent but isn't really like a technical genius. And when Kageyama and him have a conversation, because this dude is like, hey, have you seen me play before? Because you don't seem surprised at my abilities. He seems very Hinata-like in the way that he's like, oh, I just really wanted you to be surprised, and people are always saying, oh, that's really great and awesome, and they get scared because they think they're taller than me, and then I get past them. So he's like really energetic and ready to improve and stuff. So he's like Hinata, but with a little bit of Tanaka in his personality, I feel like. Where the other guy was like the captain who encourages his team and he scores, and then people get really hyped and they get ready to play and then they win. But yeah, he's really, really interesting. Another interesting character is the setter, who first he's just introduced because he served the ball and what's his name again? His name is Miyu Atsumu or something, and he's a setter, a second year setter if I remember correctly. And at first we just see him, and then he has Kageyama does something when he gets praised, and people are like, oh, he's a real genius, this dude. And this guy, Miyu, he looks at Kageyama in this really creepy way. And then later when when Kageyama is talking to the little giant, he just goes up to him and is like, you're just a goody two-shoes. You're supposed to be this genius. And he just calls out Kageyama, and we see Kageyama just looking at him, and then it cuts away. But that's really interesting because, calling him a goody two-shoes isn't really the worst insult you can give him, but I think what he means by it is that Kageyama his plays are predictable. He sets up like the perfect tosses for his players, and he kind of, instead of the King Kageyama that we knew from earlier on, where he wanted people to follow him and he set the toss that he thought would be the best, now he kind of fell into this very mechanical thing of always giving people the best toss. And while that's a really good thing, it's very predictable, because if you're from the other team and you can always look at your opponents and say, okay, this is the best way for them to deal with this situation, then you predict their moves. So because Kageyama is as good as he is, they will always be able to predict exactly what he's going to do, because he won't do make any mistakes. He won't do anything different. So in that way, he's easy to predict. And I think that might be what he means, because why else would you call him a goody two-shoes? If he just like follows the rules and stuff, he can't really break the rules, right? So yeah, I think that might be it, but I might also be wrong because I'm not a volleyball expert. But yeah, but we have a final scene with Tsukishima and Hinata, which is just like a page, where Tsukishima comes up to Hinata and is like, Hinata, I want you to go a place with me. And Hinata just has this amazing look at his face where he's just like, Tsukishima, what? Because Tsukishima just invited him to go out with him. Not in that way, of course, but they're probably gonna train or practice somewhere together. And that's very out of character for the Tsukishima that Hinata knows, because he's not as passionate as anyone else. So we're probably gonna pick up with Hinata and Tsukishima the next chapter, and I really want to know what Tsuki is thinking, because we haven't focused a lot on him. I feel like whenever we've seen Tsuki, it's mostly him reacting to Hinata being a dumbass. Last thing I want to kind of discuss or ask, because I don't actually have anything to say about this, is the name of the chapter. This chapter is called Sound, and I'm not sure what that refers to. Because it's not called conversation or gossip or anything, because there's a lot of talking in this chapter and gossiping and just in general like exchanging information, but sound is such a specific word to use, and I'm not sure what it refers to. Of course it's a manga, so I can't really hear anything, but yeah, I don't know. Please, someone let me know in the comments below why the hell you think the chapter is called Sound, because usually a chapter is called what they're called for a reason, and for the most part Haikyuu has very symbolic chapter names. Like in the last chapter we had monsters, which refer to Kageyama and Hinata, and we also have had, let me just check for a moment. Yeah, we've also had chapter names like Lost Child and First Snow, which is very symbolic for either what's going on in the story or the kind of characters we're gonna meet, or like something deeper than just like training camp day 4. Like, yeah. So what's your thought about the chapter name? Leave in the comments below, please. But yeah, that was basically what I had to say.